Hi, everybody. This is Rachel, and you're listening to Life Unmasked podcast. And tonight we're going to talk about the Rey Rivera case, uh, very known as the mystery on the rooftop, the first episode of the Unsolved Mysteries. And boy, this one is good. Rey Rivera. This case has been on my mind a lot, and I want to go through some of the theories and what the Netflix series covered, and what some of the people covered on this case. There's been a lot of buzz on the internet about him, and it's very, very unfortunate. Such a young guy, so happy, recently married. He was 30 something years old. He died on 2006, I believe. That's been 14 years. And basically, I'm pretty sure that everybody's here has seen the episode, but if you haven't, uh, the this is a guy that was recently married. He was married for 6 or 7 months when this happened. He went missing one Tuesday night, I believe, and he just left his home in a hurry after receiving a phone call, and he just vanished. For about a week, his family searched the whole Baltimore area, and eventually they found his body in in a room of a Belvedere hotel. Even though this case has been brought to everybody's attention due to the Unsolved Mysteries on Netflix, there's been a very good book about it called A Body in the Belvedere by Makita Brotman. And she goes into a lot more detail about this case in her book than what you're going to see on the Netflix series. But what I'm going to cover here is not the entire case, but basically some of my theories and my thoughts about this case. Now, the Netflix series is going to show you a couple of options, and I think it's a very brief episode considering this is such a complex case. And basically, the ruling of the police at the time was that he killed himself. And that's just something that I cannot get my head around. I just don't see a guy like him simply killing himself, throwing himself off a roof. And on the episode, you're going to see, to me, the major inconsistency in this case, which is how was he even able to kill himself in this way? Just so you guys know, what you're going to see on the screen is the red dot. It's where the hole was, the hole in the roof of this building, and his body was found 6 days later underneath that roof, that hole in a room that was unoccupied by the hotel. Used to be a conference room, used to be a church, used to be a couple other things, but as far as I know, it was unused at the time, and that's one of the reasons why nobody found him for 6 days. And what you're gonna see on the screen is basically where my theory is of how he actually died. And you see the 20 feet mark there, and what you see on the right side of the screen is a parking lot. And on the Netflix series, they basically rule out that possibility really quickly, saying that this wasn't uh, big of a distance to fall, and it wouldn't justify him being there, having such horrific injuries. But let's just dial it back up so you can understand a little bit about Ray Rivera. He was married to Allison. They had a long relationship, but they had recently married. His family was, I think, from Spain and Puerto Rico. He had a very tight relationship with his family. He was a very bright guy. He was a polo player, and he was in Baltimore working for a friend of his, Porter Stansberry. You're gonna see all that in the series. Uh, he was writing for him, but if at the time of his death, it's a little bit confusing the series because it what you get out of the series is that he was actually still working for Porter directly when he was actually working for a company named Agora. And what he was doing at that time was not really writing anymore, writing financial newsletters. He did that a while back, but that was not the reason. That was not what he was actually doing at the time. At the time, he was doing editing videos for Agora, which is the main company that owns all the other companies, including Stansberry and Associates, which was owned by his good friend Porter, which was his high school friend. Now, the reason why he moved to Portland was because of his friend. You're gonna see them touch a little bit on the financial side of this case. Was that Ray was trying to get up on his feet, financially speaking. He wanted to be a screenwriter, and but obviously that's not an easy career. So he started doing financial newsletters, and eventually he got into video editing for this company so he could, get some money, get his finances together so he could eventually pursue his career. He actually finished writing a screenplay that he was going to try to pitch back in California. Him and his wife Allison were planning to just stay in Baltimore for 2 years and go back to California and try to get a head start there. Another thing that you're not going to see in the series is that he took a major loan on his wife's credit card to finance his project, his video project. And he was going to get paid back from the company that he was working for once the video was done. As far as I can tell, as what I've researched, this was a promotional video for Agora and whatever other companies are involved in, but mainly Agora, Stansberry and Associates, and all that kind of stuff. And he filmed a convention, and he was supposed to edit that video so they can launch it. And this company was about uh, investments, financial investments, stocks, and stuff like that. Stansberry and Associates took huge blows because they sold newsletters with a tip that actually didn't go through, and a lot of people lost a lot of money. And when Ray went to Portland, he was trying to write some newsletters and to build back the company's reputation. That's what I could gather from everything I've researched so far. And the video that he was editing was part of this marketing campaign to promote uh, this other project they had about people investing in stocks and stuff like that. Now, here's the theory. Uh, some people say that Ray was actually on a tight schedule, that he had a specific date to deliver this video, which would be probably very close to the date that he died. I don't know the exact details, but on the weekend before he died, he rented some equipment, some video editing equipment to finish his project. A lot of people say that he was under fire because he really needed to deliver this project because he needed to get paid. He was about $70,000 in debt on credit card debt, his wife's credit card. Um, and he really needed, but he took that loan basically thinking that he was going to get that money back from the project. And during that day, his wife was traveling. She was away. She couldn't get a hold of him after 6:30. There was a guest in their home, and this woman heard Ray working on the next room. He used to work from home, and she heard him receiving a phone call at about 6:30. And the only thing that she heard was him saying, "Oh," and left in a hurry, like he was surprised. He left in flip flops, in I don't know, shorts, I think, or in a t-shirt, and something like very casual. Now, keep in mind that time, 6:30. Um, a lot of people say I think on his phone records, you can see that he had a lot of phone calls from his company during the day, and the only thing that they could identify is that this last call came from the company Stansberry and Associates, or Agora, somewhere in that building, but they couldn't really identify who because the call came from a switchboard. Now, if you consider that during that day he had, I think, 5 or 6 phone calls with that same switchboard or that number or that location or their origin, you could argue that there was some back and forth conversation about probably, I'm going to assume because I don't know, this project that he was working on. And some people speculate and believe that this last phone call at 6:30 was probably some sort of warning or surprise or something that said that something went wrong with this project. The company probably didn't need it anymore, or they were going to abort the project and he was going to lose all that money that he invested. This is one theory, right? Now, the people that believe that Ray committed suicide are the people that believe that he was under a lot of pressure financially, that he did not want to let Ellison down, his wife. He did not want to leave her hanging with all that debt. Uh, and they also say that he had some mental disturbances, like he was not acting normal. And some people say that some people even speculate that he had some psychological issues going on. Now, what's really surprising about this case is that Porter did not, at first, he was trying to help. He put $1,000 reward to find him. He got the media involved because he was a very influential guy. He had a lot of money, so he was able to start up the media and get people's attention towards this case. They found his car close to the hotel in a parking lot, and according to the the parking lot employee, his car was parked there that night. Now, what you're not going to see on the Netflix series is that any report from the people that lived in the Belvedere. It was not just a hotel; it was a condo, so a lot of people lived there. On Makita Brockman's book, she said she heard a very loud noise at about 10:30 at night. Keep in mind, Ray got the phone call at 6:30. 6:30, let's just say there's still some people working in the office. It depends on office hours, but there's usually a few people still there. Now, according to her book, not a lot of people from the hotel were actually interviewed. And if what she heard was the actual landing of Ray on the rooftop, what happened to Ray between 6:30 and 10:30? We're talking 4 hours here. If you believe that he was pushed off, fell off, or he was killed, or he actually committed suicide, he would have been roaming around for 4 hours. Now, another thing that you're going to see on the Netflix series is that he left. There was a note. His wife found a note glued to the back of his computer, a piece of paper with very random stuff. And a lot of people base the theory that Ray was unstable mentally based on that note. Now, the note hasn't been released to the public. Uh, all we have from the note is the screenshot from what we can see on the Netflix series. And for a lot of people, it may sound too random and even the writing of a schizophrenic, which I don't believe that's the case. But you have to keep in mind that Ray was a writer. He wrote screenplays. Every creative person can relate to that. I'm one of those people. I write a lot in a lot of places all the time. I have two, three notebooks filled with little pieces of thoughts and stuff that go through my mind and ideas about business and stuff like that. And everybody writes what something that comes through their mind. If you are that kind of person, you can relate, and I can relate. I can see a little bit of life mixed with fiction on the note. It might sound like ramblings and doesn't make sense to a lot of people, but to me, I can see where he was going. Maybe he was trying to tell a story through a screenplay uh, in a way so that people could get some of that message. And I think I can understand a little bit of that. I'm not going to get into it a lot because it's very it's a very sensitive subject if you go through that. But think of it as a screenplay, and you can really fit into that. If you ever see the episode, and when you see the parts that they're reading through the note, think of it as a film. It's going to make a lot more sense. And then you dig deep into that and you'll see what I mean. But people that say that he was unstable mentally, there were two episodes actually that people based that theory on. One was that something that you're not going to see in the Netflix series is that you're going to get in the book from Akita Brockman is the episode that I think it was a week or a couple weeks before the his death. His wife, he became very concerned about his safety and his wife's safety, and his wife used to run track, and he went with her. So, and that specific day it was raining, so he stayed in his car. But in his car, he saw a man approaching her from afar, and he literally jumped from the car and ran straight to Allenson. Nothing happened, but everybody says that this is a neurotic or paranoid behavior. Now, let's just look into the facts. There were two occasions before his death, very recently, a week or a couple of days before his death, that the alarm from their house went off. And they called the police. It was about 1 in the morning. His wife said he was terrified. He went downstairs with a baseball bat in his hand, absolutely petrified. They called the police. They didn't find anything. The police said it was a squirrel, but his wife never really understood that because squirrels don't roam around at 1 in the morning, and it never happened before. And it happened actually twice. The fact that people take that as Ray being paranoid doesn't take into account that his wife was actually there. She witnessed both episodes. So was she paranoid too? Did she make that up too, or what? And the last episode happened the night before he died. Now think about that for a minute. If we're gonna focus on facts, right? How can you say that this man was paranoid and worried about his family's safety when there was a potentially uh, possibility that somebody tried to break into his house twice, and his wife was there and she heard the alarm? Okay, they never found the perpetrator, but it's strange. Him being worried about her tells me that he was worried about something bigger, something happening to him and or maybe her. Is this related to the company? I don't know. Nobody knows. But something was definitely happening. One thing I want to tell you, when you watch the episode, don't focus so much on that note, but focus on other pieces of paper that they're going to show you a little bit, little flashes, and you're going to just freeze your screen and read a little bit into that. Take those terms and do a deep search. You know what I mean. So it's not just about the piece of paper that was glued behind his computer, but the other pieces of paper that you can see a glimpse of on the episode. I really wish they would release all those, but they don't. So you have very split seconds to go through and read some of these writings, and you see what he's going through. I think Ray was in a journey of discovery, trying to find out some things about this world that are not so nice. And people might say that, oh, I'm as crazy as him talking about it, but I'm not. This is something that a lot of people are aware of, and it could be there could be a dark world out there that most of us don't really know much about. But I think Ray was into something. Now I can't say it has any relation to his job or his friend or his company. Maybe, maybe not. But I don't think Ray was crazy at all. I don't think he was paranoid. I don't think he was uh, mentally ill at all. At all. I don't think that. Now, let's talk about the evidence or the scene of the crime itself, right? You're going to see three possibilities that they put out as far as the place where he went to jump, considering that he was killing himself. The first possibility is the top of the hotel, and it's nearly impossible. There's a bunch of stuff from the roof to the place where he actually fell that will make it impossible for him to land where he actually landed, unless he was actually catapulted from there by something. And him being flip flops, and even if he was fit in good shape, there's just not enough room and not enough speed for him to jump through and get to where he went. And let's just be honest here. If you want to kill yourself, you just jump from any roof. I mean, he would have landed anywhere, but it wouldn't matter Why would he put so much speed into it? I don't know. I don't know anybody that had suicidal thoughts, and I can't think that way. But I don't know. I just don't see him doing that. That's the first option. The top of the hotel that they basically just scratched that off the table as a possibility because the structure of the building wouldn't allow that to happen. Now, the second possibility is what you're seeing on your screen right now, the parking lot right next to the Belvedere Hotel. Now, I've done some research, and there's a way to access that parking lot without getting into the hotel at all. And this brings me to the fact that there's no record or witness to put him in the Belvedere Hotel that night. Nobody saw him. We're talking about a busy place. There are restaurants in the building. There's people coming in and out all the time. There's people living there. And the cameras, for some reason, were not working that night. Now, that's something to think about too, because this is hard evidence. Somehow, the cameras didn't work that night. The roof itself had a camera, but it was disabled, so it's probably never working. But the hotel had cameras working, and that actually didn't work that night. And that's really strange. That's hard evidence. Now, we have to consider, did he really go through the hotel at all? I don't think he did. This, what you see on the screen, is the second option. It's the parking lot right next to it. They kind of scratched that possibility, saying that it's not too high. People could probably survive this fall, and it wouldn't justify all the injuries he had. He was destroyed physically. He had broken ribs, legs, lacerations on his head. I mean, the man had a horrible death. But we'll get back to it later. The third possibility was that he actually jumped from the ledge of the hotel, which to me is the craziest idea in the world. The ledge of the hotel, he would have to go through some room or somebody's apartment, some room, some office. It's not something that he could just get to easily and just jump. And even if you think of the ledge of the hotel, there's no room to run or to, I don't know, get ahead. You literally just, in all those old movies, you remember you're outside of a window and you just let go, and it will be just, I don't know how he would just land where he landed. It would just be pure luck. To me, that's the craziest idea. And to me, the fact that a lot of people believe that he committed suicide actually don't make sense because of that. If you think hard evidence, you have to prove that he jumped from somewhere. And if he went through the 11th or 13th floor, somebody would have definitely seen him. He had to go through hallways and rooms, and there is no record of him in the hotel. Nobody saw him. So I don't think he went to the Belvedere Hotel at all. Now, we'll get back to this scene that you're seeing right now, but let's go a little bit further. Uh, if you think, let's go back to reasoning, right? Remember that phone call 6:30, and the fact that the police really didn't do a very good job explaining, uh, actually investigating his death. I read on a whole bunch of forums on internet that his body was in this room and there was a horrible smell, and the employees of the hotel complained, but people never checked. And people eventually, when he was discovered, because some people from his company somehow went to the rooftop. Why would they go to the rooftop to begin with? And they saw the hole and they pointed it out, and the manager of the hotel actually went downstairs and finally opened the room, and they finally found him. It's weird to me. Why would they do that? Why would they go to the top of the Belvedere Hotel? I don't know. It's just strange. To me, it's just strange. It could happen, yeah, it could, but it's just weird. Um, some people say they didn't really secure the crime scene, and his glasses and phone were found right next to the hole. Now think about this for a minute. It's not that important. A lot of people say, well, his phone was not broken, his glasses were not broken. Yes, that's absolutely important. But more than that, how would they just sit there right next to the hole? I mean, they would just fly away. Glasses are very light. His glasses probably just would have flown away, fell on the street. I don't know. His phone, same. I don't know. There's a chance that it could land close to him, but I don't know. It seemed so neatly close that the detective said right away that he thought the scene was staged. His flip-flops, phone, and glasses right next to the hole. Now, let's talk about his autopsy report. His injuries were brutal. He was all smashed up, and the medical examiner, ruled his death undetermined because of the injuries to his legs. What she said is that that kind of injury was not consistent with a fall. And it's so weird because the first thing that came to my mind when I saw the episode is what you see on the screen, the image of that parking lot. The first thing that came to my mind was like that I don't know if he was beaten with something, but what came to my mind was that he was run by a car. Like when a car drives into you, and he was a very tall guy, he was 6'5", the bumper of the car would have hit him in the shin. And that's what came to my mind immediately. And if you look at this picture and you say, well, it's just 20 feet. If he jumped, he wouldn't have died. I agree. But not if he was hit by a car and a car literally kept running and threw his body through the roof. That would put a lot more speed into his fall. And maybe, just maybe, this is just my opinion, maybe it would justify the making of the hole and him falling down. I don't know. I don't know. But this is what comes to mind. That's why I don't know why they discarded this scene so fast and they didn't really check. I don't know how they could have checked cars going up and down. I don't know. And maybe somebody would say, well, if he was at that parking lot, why did he drive his own car to that parking lot? Well, we don't know if he did. Or we don't know if whoever called him met him downstairs on the place that he parked his own car, picked him up, and drove him to this parking lot. It could have happened. Now, here's why. Here's the thing. Why would they kill him? That's the question. Whatever he was into, whatever he was afraid of, could have gotten him killed. He probably found out something that he shouldn't have. And I know that I'm not really a person that goes into that direction all the time, but in this case, I can see why he would kill himself. Some people say that he killed himself because on that night, that phone call was to tell him that the company gave up on his project. The video took too long to edit. It wouldn't make sense anymore for the financial company to promote that kind of video for the conference that happened 2 months ago. It took too long. He couldn't deliver. So they just aborted the project and they wouldn't pay him. He probably went there to talk to somebody, try to figure things out. He couldn't. He got desperate. He didn't know how to tell Ellison about it, that they were both in a hole $70,000. And then he decided to kill himself. I don't know, but I don't see Ray as being, I don't know. I never knew the guy, but I mean, I can't see somebody ending their own life, especially in a stage of his life where he was, simply to not admit to his wife that he failed in a project, if that whole thing actually happened. Let's just say this is what happened. Let's just say that a company called him to tell him that, we're not going to go through the project. You took too long. We really wanted it, but we gave you 2 months. You couldn't deliver. That's fine, but we're just not going to pay for it. Okay, the guy's in a hole. He's going to be sad. $70,000 is a lot of money. But his wife seemed to be very much in love with him. Yes, she would have been upset, but I don't think it would have gone any further than that. I'm pretty sure she would have forgiven him. She would have given him a second chance, and they can work hard and pay that debt. Let's be honest, everybody's in debt these days. Being in debt is just probably part of life for a lot of people that are struggling right now. So I don't know. And if he thought about suicide, what did he do? Did he stand there for 4 hours thinking about it? Did he go to the bar, got drunk, and then decided to jump? And if that happened, how come nobody saw him at the bar? At the Belvedere bar or at any other bar around? For 4 hours, he didn't call anybody. He could have called, let's just say he was ashamed or embarrassed. He couldn't call Allison. He could call his brother or a friend or anybody. He went dark and just decided to jump. I don't know. I don't know how I can get to that kind of conclusion. Now, you have to consider that police departments don't want cases. want to close cases fast. I understand they're usually short staffed. I think Baltimore at the time was a very dangerous place. I mean, everywhere is now. Maybe they just looked at it like the officer at the Netflix series says, well, the guy, we found a body through a roof. There are no signs of foul play according to them. There were no gunshot wounds, no knife wounds, so apparently he killed himself. Yeah, maybe, maybe not. If you look at the scene as a whole, there's so many questions. I don't think Ray killed himself. I honestly don't. I know that a lot of people may call me crazy and say, I'm just reading too much into it. But I think something happened right here at that parking lot where you see on the screen. I think this is the most logical place, and it'll make sense with the actual evidence, because if he just went from the street where he parked his car at that parking lot with somebody straight to this parking lot right here, then nobody would have seen him. He did not go to any public places. He just went to somewhere private to talk, and something went wrong. Was it an accident? Was it intentional? I don't know. What you're also going to see in the series is that once his body was found, nobody from the company talked. Now, there's a lot of dispute about the actual gag order. I don't think there was a gag order per se. I think that the company lawyers decided to ask employees not to say anything, considering that this company has been through hot water too much. They were trying to rebuild their reputation, and maybe they would be best letting the lawyers deal with it. And let's just say the company did not want any more bad press, right? Now, later on, recently, I read an article where some people say that, the Netflix series just painted Porter and his company in a bad light, and it was not actually that way, that he just didn't talk because he didn't want to get mixed up in the whole media frenzy and stuff. But again, they were friends. He kind of never spoke to Ray's wife again. I think he could have at least clarified the phone call. It came from the company. Somebody knows. Somebody out there spoke to Ray at 6:30. Who is that person? If that phone call was really about his project, and if it was really about him, I mean, not getting paid for that project for some reason, why not come forward? Why not tell his wife? Uh, that in and of itself doesn't configure murder. Whatever he did after that, if he did by himself, is on him. So it would have brought some relief to the family, I think. Uh, and I don't know. It's just, to me, that's just not enough evidence to support suicide. And a lot of you can say, well, people commit suicide for lesser reasons. Everybody's different. True, I agree. But I don't know. I can't see a guy like him doing this. I think he seemed to have a very close relationship with his wife. They were young birds in love, like a blooming relationship. When you're in that stage, you don't really hide that much information from your partner. I mean, him and Allison seem to be partners, strong partners. I could see him talking to her and explaining to her what happened. To kill himself in such a brutal way, I don't know. There's something more to this story. That's what I think. So take a look at this screen, and you'll see where I'm coming from. Maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong. This is just my opinion. I feel for this guy. I feel for his wife and his family. He seemed to have a wonderful family, people that truly loved him. His wife, it broke my heart to see her talking and how this whole thing affected her. She was so in love with this guy, and they seemed so happy together. And when you have that kind of relationship, even if you're in deep trouble financially, you hold on to each other. You rebuild. The most important thing they had. So I don't think he would have given that up for a $70,000 debt. Not in this way. I don't think so. So Feel free to drop your comments, your theories, your opinions. I do a lot of online research. I listen to a lot of podcasts. There are a lot of great people putting out information there. Some things I agree, some things I don't, and this is one of the things. Ray Rivera, to me, in my opinion, he did not commit suicide. And I know, and for those that believe he did, what I really want to hear is the mechanics of the act of suicide itself. Nobody was able to explain that to me in a way that I can actually digest and consider. It's easy to say, well, he was paranoid. His note didn't make sense. He wrote a lot of ramblings. He was paranoid about his wife. The whole alarm thing was all in his head, and he was mentally ill, and he lost a project, and he killed himself. If that's your theory, tell me how. Where exactly did he go to jump? And if you give me the 11th, 12th, or 13th floor, you got to tell me how he got there and how he got there and nobody saw him. That's why I think this theory, my theory, is more close to reality. Maybe you say, well, you're crazy too. There's nobody in that rooftop, in that parking lot. Who knows? Who knows? How do you explain his injuries? There's people who even say that he was dropped from the helicopter. I don't believe in that theory. I don't, because that would include a lot more going on. I mean, could be it. Nothing is off the table, I guess, but I don't think that's the thing. I think something happened here in this parking lot right here. And if it was an accident, if he was run over, if he had an argument, left, he was inside a car with somebody having a conversation, things got heated up. He got into an argument. He got out of the car, started walking, and the car just ran into him. Or if he got out of the car, had a fist fight with somebody, and then they got angry, the guy got in the car, ran him over. I don't know, something to that nature. But the motive, I don't know. I think we can understand the motive, his fears, his paranoid, if we read through his notes. I think that's where the cookie's going to crumble. Unfortunately, we don't have all that information available on the internet. All you can see is what's on Netflix series. Watch that episode again. Take screenshots of all the moments where they show his notes, not just the note behind the computer, all of them. Maybe we'll get somewhere. Okay, let me know your theories. Let me know in the comments, and I'll talk to you guys soon.